everyone. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest here with another edition of Word Up. This is where actually, let me transition screens here for you real quick. As you can see, I have Locktrain with me here. But this is the show where keep throughout the week I try to keep my ear to the ground and keep some sort of tidbits, notes on the tidbits that are going on in Collegiate League of Legends. Obviously, I bring this to you every week. This is episode 3. Thank you for joining us. And in addition to the news, I also try to bring on a guest as well. This week, I have Locktrain. I'm actually really excited about this one because I've actually been acquainted with Locktrain for a while, and I say acquainted as in like I've broadcasted him, seen him quite a bit throughout I guess his career, throughout my career for sure. And Locktrain, he's the jungler for Irvine. Thank you for being on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think you've done an interview with me like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Yeah, it was a written interview. It wasn't like a video. I've come a long way, I think. At least I hope. I haven't regressed any. But I've had that interview. It was at least 3 years, probably 4. I think it was when you were still on San Jose.
Yeah, it was definitely when I was on San Jose State. I think it's when we won CSL that year, actually. So, yeah, I think it was 4 years ago. It's been a long time.
It has. But I'm really glad that we are here, and you're still kicking. So, like, how is the season going so far for you? Like, how are you doing in general?
Well, there's been a lot of changes in my life. I actually stepped down from being on the starter roster.
Okay.
So I am currently managing the team, and I am substitute jungler in case Youngman, goes to the LCS again. So, I've been in the scene for like 5 years now. Going to my 5th year, I felt like, it was time to kind of move on, but I still want the team to win. So if they need me to play, I'm down to get in there and play. I think that the season is going really well. Our team looks incredibly strong this year. Definitely stronger than last year, just due to like the support staff and everyone being more familiar with each other's play styles this year.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about it already a little bit. 5 years, that's a long time for a collegiate student. Obviously, it's not unheard of. That's not saying anything there. But you've had experience from a variety of changes through League of Legends, Collegiate League of Legends. You were on San Jose State University. You're on UC Irvine, and you still are now as a sub and also as the manager. From your experience, how has the scene changed from then to now?
Definitely when we got second place in NACC at San Jose State my freshman year. From then till now, it's gotten a lot tougher. Prize pool structure has changed a lot, which I know a lot of players don't agree with. I'm kind of opposed to it myself. But I think that it's good that the competition keeps growing. It's way harder than it was back then. Obviously, back then when we were playing at San Jose State, it was just a bunch of friends getting together, people who already went to the school. Now you have programs like UCI, RMU, just recruiting people. And I think that is a huge step in the future of collegiate esports. And I think that just the sole fact that you're going out to, grab players that are really good and then, take them to your school just to compete for league is a crazy collegiate change that has happened in the past couple of years, and one that I didn't see happening anytime soon.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So did you never saw that happening? Did you ever expect it? Did you ever, since it is happening, how are you coping with that sort of thing? Has your perception or what you think people's perception of you changed or anything like that now that you technically are an athlete? I know that's kind of a. Some people say don't call them athletes. I don't really care what it's called. Either way, you are what you are.
I guess one side note I'd like to mention is UCI Esports is not under UCI Athletics, so we have that. But I think the fact that people are getting recruited like an athlete, I think it's pretty crazy. Back then, I definitely didn't think it was going to happen this soon. Just because, when we were playing on San Jose State, after we came back from, LA and we got second place, the school didn't recognize us at all. They didn't acknowledge us or in any way, pretty much, other than in the student run paper. So I thought, it was just what it is. I think it's just a bunch of friends playing the game and competing together, which I thought was cool. It's more grassroots, and now it's more structured.
Yeah.
It is nice having a program. I mean, I'm in the UCI Esports arena right now on a broadcasting station, at San Jose State, if I was still on campus from my commute, like I'd be doing this interview on my laptop in like the cafeteria probably. So things definitely have changed for the better, I'd say. Just for collegiate esports in general, and just like my collegiate career, I'd say. The reason I've been in the scene for 5 years now is because I didn't have the major here that I was pursuing at San Jose State. So I lost some of my credits, and that's why I had to stay an extra year. Um, but I think in the end, it was worth it. I've met a lot of amazing people in the industry, and just being a part of this program, that's pretty much one of the first in the space, and creating the history, setting an example for schools to come is amazing.
So what actually made you jump from San Jose State University to Irvine? Was it your major, or had anything to do with Collegiate League of Legends at all?
So after the third year or so at San Jose State, our league team, some people graduated, some people were just moving on from league, just getting on with life. And, I love my teammates back then, and I still do, still talk to most of them. But, I kind of wanted to play still. When I saw the applications for UCI Esports, I kind of applied as a joke because I wasn't sure if I'd actually go. And I just wanted to see how I'd stack up against everybody else that's applying. And I got accepted. I talked to my parents, and they were like, "If you want to do it, go for it." I was commuting from home, so it was a nice opportunity to live away from home and get the college experience or whatever people like to say
Yeah.
it is. So it wasn't just league, but obviously the scholarship helped. Just the new experience in general was the main attraction for me.
All right. So you were talking about you. So you moved. You got a blessing from your parents. How do your parents perceive this? Because I always like to get the perspective of parents. There's some that are very enthusiastic about it, like Prototype's parents. So, a lot of Maryville University's parents in general, like the parents of the players. Chody Walrus is one of them. Even the manager, Clarky's dad. I've met him. Super enthusiastic. Yeah. Prototype's parents. How do your parents perceive this sort of thing? Like, obviously they gave you their blessing. But from beginning to now, obviously it's a little bit different now. It is becoming more accepted. Back then it might have been a little harder. Has it changed, or have they been pretty supportive the entire time?
Well, I'd say I'm a first generation Vietnamese American, so like stereotypes are kind of true sometimes. My parents are super strict about me going out. So, and my brothers are a lot older than me, about like 9 to 10 years, and then my dad all played games with them, so they brought me into the games. So they've always been pretty supportive. It's just nice for that, in their point of view. It's nice that I get to do something I love and get paid for it, and still keep school as my main priority. And also just the fact that when I was growing up, they don't want me going outside. They'd rather have me inside playing games where they can watch over me. So, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, that's fair. Going to today, though, you are coming up on a match against Colorado University Boulder. They're undefeated. You're undefeated. The main difference is, as far as my perspective, obviously I don't have access to scrims or anything like that, so I have no idea how you guys are doing on that. But I do know that Boulder, they have a lot of experience that is actually being broadcast. The Wichita event just happened. They were there. They were also at DreamHack. Does that sort of thing intimidate you or anything, coming in, seeing that they're also 3-0? Or are you fully prepared? You would not have an issue coming into this match this weekend?
I just think group stages, we've been pretty confident just in general. Most respectable teams will make it out of group stages pretty easily. And then CU Boulder, they are 3-0, and they have some teams against the amateur teams and the better collegiate teams. I think that's obviously an advantage that most college teams don't have. But I think one of the main advantages that our team has is the fact that, we have Bloodwater. He played Season 3 Worlds. We have Youngbin, who just came back from the LCS. We have Frostalicious on sub. He played in a bunch of challenger scenes. And we just have a really strong roster. We have a lot of veterans from a really long time ago, and also we have new blood like Dessa Cretan. He plays like 10 games a day, has almost a 4.0, if not a 4.0, and he is in challenger. So I think that, we do respect our opponents, but we aren't intimidated by anybody.
Sure. That's actually something I wanted to get to as well, your roster, because it's pretty star-studded as far as I guess star power goes in collegiate. There's a lot of hype around your roster as far as the West. There's not an extraordinary amount of power in the West. There is Simon Fraser University, University of British Columbia, and then there's you guys. For the most part, if you want to really get into it here. How do you feel your roster stacks up against the entire West? Because again, you guys kind of have some star power, and actually go over a little bit of your roster because so far, like they essentially are all somewhat all ex amateur pros, right?
Yeah, so we've had some roster changes from last year and some roster changes during the season this year. So right now we're running Captain Nuke top lane. He's new blood, second year at UCI,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's just new to the scene competitively. He's around Masters and solo queues, so it's pretty good, especially in collegiate.
Mm-hmm.
Jungle, we have Youngbin, obviously. He's a superstar. He's been Team Liquid Academy. He's been in the scene since like season 3. Tends to pop off really hard in our collegiate games. And then in mid, we have Deskerton, new blood that I've talked about, his second year as well. And then in AD, I forgot to mention, of course, James Latman. He was on TDK. He has super good practice regimen. He plays a lot of solo queue, likes to do VOD review. He's always enthusiastic about playing,
Mm-hmm.
and he's definitely had the professional background. And our support, Bloodwater, probably the oldest veteran on our team. He's definitely the oldest in age.
Yeah, he's also probably one of the most recognizable ones too. I know Bloodwater
yeah, for
goes
sure.
way back.
So that's our starting roster, and then we have me in the wings, and also Parsa Frostalicious, AD sub, who plays in a lot of Challenger series, and also was on CLG Black.
So you're manager now, obviously a sub player as well. How are you transitioning to the role of manager? Have you been manager the entire year? Did it start last year? And also, again, how are you transitioning to that? Do you prefer management? Now you got both sides, or do you still prefer being on the Rift in front of the, with your team in front of the crowd?
There's benefits of both for sure.
Yeah,
I think that it's going pretty well for me. I just started managing at the beginning of this school year, so September. I do miss playing, especially with the team and competing with each other. But I think managing is a pretty good fit for me because I like to interact with all the players, make sure we have good relationships and everyone's having fun. I think it's pretty hard to get better if you're not having fun, especially when you have veterans playing for 8-9 years now. So if it gets dry, you don't really want to improve. You need to make it a fun environment, and I think I can do a pretty good job at that. At San Jose State, I became the manager after my first year, and I still played. So I just think that it was a good fit for me because I wanted to progress in my career as well in esports. I don't want to pursue playing pro anymore for sure after I graduate. That side of me is pretty burnt out. I don't have enough fun playing any game right now to push me to try to become the best in the world. So I think managing and just going into the esports industry is my next step. So I think becoming the manager for the team was a logical step for me.
And do you see a future in UCI management as far as an esports program? You said right now they're not technically under the athletics commission or athletics department of UCI. Do you feel like that's going to be changing anytime soon, or is that kind of dependent on results and how the team does going forward?
I think that stuff's a little over my head, as in I don't know the details of that, but from what it is right now, I don't think we're going to merge with athletics anytime soon. A common misconception that we have about our program that a lot of the older alums don't like is that they think our program and this whole space that I'm in right now is funded by taxpayers' dollars, like tuition and stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually completely funded by the sponsors we have, and they don't. The school doesn't give us any money. In fact, we have to pay rent and utilities and stuff for this space.
Well, I'm really glad you mentioned that because that is something that is brought up throughout any kind of conversation with a casual fan or anyone who's just like, what are those guys that are like, what are esports doing on on ESPN or anything like that?
Yep.
So, yeah, that is something that I feel like is going to be a lot bigger of an issue coming forward. I'm actually really glad you said that because I haven't gotten too much insight as far as the actual financial benefits or disadvantages going in, being a part of a collegiate program or anything like that. But we are approaching the 15-minute mark, and I really appreciate you being on here, Locktrain. Do you have any final thoughts or last words you want to give out?
Just follow UCI Sports and our league team. We hope to make everyone proud. We ended up short a a lot shorter than we expected last year. So hopefully we can take it all the way and bring home the trophy this year.
Sure thing. You have a good luck in the match against Boulder this weekend. You guys seem confident, so I have faith. And thank you again, Locktran. Really good catching up with you. Because again,
yeah, it was nice to talk to you again, man.
Like 5 years in the making. I'm really happy about that. Anyways, I'll see you around, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, that was Locktran. Apparently, the sub jungler for UC Irvine. Not quite the actual jungler. He's had his time. As he said, he is getting burnt out. So that is something that happens with players who take this very seriously. Have to really dedicate themselves to the profession. So he's taking his next steps. That's really awesome. Management. That's something I've considered every now and then, because casting is really fun. Every now and then though, I do get a little burnt out, and sometimes I want to seek other avenues. That's just something that happens with, I think, anybody who has the drive and doesn't stop anytime whenever they are just going at one path. So yeah, respect to Locktran. Again, he's been at it for a long time. He's one of the OGs of Collegiate League of Legends. Very happy to have him on. Getting to the topic part of it now, as you can see, so I didn't point this out before. I have a lot of boxes in my background. Normally I have like a Japanese blossom kind of thing. Actually packing to move, so that's why I have boxes. But we're going to go and get on to some topics here. The Wichita LAN actually just ended last weekend. So Columbia College, they did not win. They made it the furthest out of any other collegiate team. They took a game off of Wildcard and the eventual winners, Zenith Esports. Zenith, however you want to pronounce it, they did win the Wichita Esports Convention. My mic almost just fell. How about that? They did win the Wichita Esports Convention. But, again, props to Columbia College, because they were able to take a game off them and Wildcard Gaming, as well as beat any other collegiate team they got further than the other collegiate teams. What I'm trying to say, got further than Maryville University, Boulder, Grand Valley State. So props to them. They went the distance. They actually have a big match coming up, which we'll get to later on. But Riot Tizza had an AMA, I should say, not an MMA. Ask me anything, for anyone wonders what that is. Had a lot of good information in there. My mic does not want to stay up. Un momento. There we go. Had a lot of good information in there. I actually do have the link to one of the tweets. There's quite a bit that he did answer. He quoted them, so you actually have to go to his Twitter. That's at Riot Tizza, Tiza. You can go to his Twitter, scroll down a little bit. He just answered them about 1 week ago. So look around February 2nd. You should be able to find them. That's no problem. But he answered a lot of questions from me. Answered a lot of questions from a writer from Columbia, Missouri. Is actually a writer for Columbia, Missourian. His name's Danny Konstantinovic. Konstantinovic. There you go. Got it. Sorry about that if he's watching. But he asked the question: if the goal isn't to give students playing collegiate League of Legends a more feasible path to pro, in context here, Riot Tizza outright said collegiate should never, he doesn't want to say ever, but shouldn't be a path to pro. So the context there is that if the goal isn't to give students playing collegiate LoL a more feasible path to pro, then what benefit does it provide them? What does Riot want to get them from the experience? Want them to get from the experience? Really good question. A lot of the ones he asked were really good questions. I feel like I might have asked some good questions too. I hope I did. Go check them out. But Tiz's response: for collegiate esports, that's versus college as a whole, we think competition and challenges make better humans. We also think a premier collegiate competition is inspiring and validating for all league fans and can help support bringing the school community together, which I thought was a good response. And I think if you're not gonna, you have to have some sort of goal. A lot of times, especially in NCAA, you have athletes going to college, going to play basketball at these big universities, at huge hopes to go to pro. Excuse me, huge hopes to go to pro. Tizza, JT Vanderbree, apparently he's not quite seen it there, but he does have an end goal, and that is to strengthen the school community, bring them together, and validate the whole competition. I thought that was a great answer. There's actually a whole lot of good answers there. So like I said, go over to Riot Tizza, RIOT, that's right, Tizza, Tiza, on his Twitter. Scroll down to about February 2nd. You should be able to find a lot more responses. They're all pretty freaking good. Going on to the Big Ten update. not too much information on the Big Ten being spouted out on Twitter. They definitely don't get streamed, so I'm gonna bring some results here to you. Like I said earlier in the series, a couple weeks ago, whenever I introduced Big Ten, they broke it up into two conferences, East and West. The West, it's headed up. Then, by the way, the top 4 teams are gonna go, top 4 teams are gonna go, and that's from top 8 altogether. So that's 4 teams from each conference. So that's something to keep in mind here because. It's getting down to the wire. University of Illinois over on the west side, they are actually leading their division 3-0 right now, followed by Purdue, Northwestern, and University of Minnesota Gophers. That's their team name. They are all 2-0 below University of Illinois, so it's getting pretty close. So need to really start looking at that one because they're going to start being broadcasted. If they do it like they did last year, more than likely going to be broadcasted by Riot once the playoffs get here. They actually broadcast more playoffs. And then over on the east side, my boys, Ohio State University. In fact, you can go check out my banner at Feques, PHEQES, big Ohio State banner there. But I'm only biased on this thing. When I get to casting, I'm not truly biased, but I do really love casting Ohio State University. So Ohio State University, they are leading the East. I want to point that out. They are winning. Last year's winners, or advancers that went on to the playoffs, was University of Maryland. Michigan State University, and Penn State, along with University of Michigan, 2017, 2018. So that must be that's a different team than Michigan State. They are all 2-0 right now. That is something to keep in mind. University of Maryland, they had a better team last year. Ohio State University looks like they pulled some things together and started to actually, like I said, they're 3-0 in their region. That's over Michigan State, which has a pretty solid team. If last year's any indication, I know they still have. I believe their mid laner, I believe is still Arbor Julius. I believe it is. But they had a pretty solid team last year, Michigan State did, and they're one of the few grassroots that are still left that is actually a really good team. So to see them 2-0, that's actually or 2-1. I'm sorry, 2-1. It's actually really surprising. But we're gonna go ahead and move on from there. Did I do that? Oh no! Oh man, I forgot to change the Game Talk Live to the Big Ten. Sorry about that. Game Talk Live. That was actually I was going to talk about it since here. That was actually supposed to be Big Ten. Forgot to change it. Might be. But that Game Talk Live, while it's here, that was actually a broadcast. I'm just going to go briefly over it. Broadcast that was happened earlier today, and you can actually check my Twitter for that broadcast. But it was an interview between Duran Parsi, the CEO of CSL, Michael Brooks, which is the founder of NACE, North American Collegiate Establishment, I believe it is. Either way, they're the ones that gather all the information about. I forgot the exact terminology or the exact name of it because I wasn't expecting to say their name today, but it was a little mess up on my document. Might be. Anyway, yeah, Michael Brooks, he's the founder of NACE, who are is the organization that's trying to help schools get scholarships for League of Legends, and also Matt Bullschultz, who's an esport enthusiast, consultant, and follower. So you can go, like I said, I'll post that on my Twitter after this broadcast, and you can go check out that. It's actually a really cool video. It's a blanket for the entirety of collegiate esports. League of Legends definitely being part of that, though. So moving on to something that's actually on my list. Once again, sorry about that, guys. Social media hype. So it's getting toward playoffs. So we only have a few more weeks for playoffs. The teams are currently playing, I believe, their 4th game right now, and after I think 2 weeks after that, it'll be playoffs. That's when social media really gets going. We've obviously seen Drake Porter from Columbia College. He's always vocal on social media. We haven't seen as much from Marysville University this year, but still, I expect a lot more banter from playoffs. That's actually really exciting. So that's something to keep track of. UBC, they're vocal. I feel like most of it's just like most of it's harmless banter, but it is still fun to create hype and things like that. That is something that social media has done a very good job of. So yeah, not gonna touch too much on social media. I just want everyone to be aware that social media storm is coming. Mostly again because of playoffs, and that's when it happened last year. It's when it happened the year before that, and that's usually when I'm most excited because it's very fun for my timeline because I follow all you guys, and I try to retweet all the most trashiest, talkiest things, and yeah, I'll probably do that again this year, only because it's, like I said, it creates story. It's just very fun for me to watch. So, moving on to Team of the Week, that is actually going to be Columbia College. Main reason why is because, their success for collegiate over at Wichita Land. That was very good. Like I said, they progressed further than any other collegiate team, outlasting even the champions Maryville University, and taking a game off of Zenith Esports and Wildcard Gaming. So congratulations to them. But another big reason is because I already featured Lords University on my week 1 broadcast. So I figured it'd be appropriate, considering how the weekend is going to go, that I give a little shout out to Columbia College as my team of the week. A very put together team. A little bit different than they had in DreamHack. But speaking of DreamHack, they did win that title there under Drake Porter. So they have the drive, they have the resources to be able to pull out a championship if they need to. And like I said, the team is a little bit different. They have a different jungler. Buck Zach went from ADC over to jungle, brought in Evan RL from old school RMU. I say old school as in last year's RMU. Yeah, they have a lot of tools in their kit here to succeed very, very far and to get very far into the collegiate law tournament. So I'm very excited about this game coming up this weekend, because I'm actually going to talk about that right now. It's one of the biggest. I guess one of the biggest games this weekend is going to be Columbia College versus Lords. And Lords is undefeated as well as Columbia College. The thing about Lords is they have 2 members from old Columbia College who, Artemis is the support, and then Homecoming being the ADC. They also have the highest KDA player in the entire league right now of Collegiate League of Legends. It's Hayami. I know my co-caster returned, super hyped on Lords, and obviously he's really hyped on Columbia College too, just because Columbia College has a lot of exposure. But he's a follower. He has followed both of them pretty intently. Very excited for this match. I actually don't know if he gets a cast. I hope he does. I'm not gonna cast it. I'm gonna be watching as a fan, because it's one of the few times I actually get to watch as a fan that for a game I'm really excited about. Most of the times I get to cast them, which I love doing too. But sometimes there's just something about pulling back and just watching and enjoying a show. And I believe that's what Columbia College and Lords is going to be. But we'll get to that in the time in just a moment. But there are going to be, so far, 3 games. There's usually 4. One of them is pending right now. We don't have a confirmation on one of the time slots. But so far, we have George Mason versus North Carolina State University, which should be a good one too, and something that everyone should be watching, because the skill gap in the South, it's pretty big. North Carolina State, they've been playing a lot outside of collegiate region. I've been seeing them. Shadow Visions is still their mid laner, still a very prominent player. I think he switched from Ari to Zoe main. Obviously he still plays Ari more than likely, but versatile mid laner. And I believe Hani is still in the bot lane, tearing it up as Bard whenever he can. So sometimes it's hit or miss, but he has a pretty dynamite Bard. So North Carolina State, they're actually a very powerful team in the South, and one to be watching, because eventually you're going to have to go against them, in the playoffs. But the South doesn't have a huge pool of big names, big schools. George Mason, they're not bad whatsoever, but North Carolina State, again, they have that star power as far as making it to I believe the quarter or semifinals last year. I know they made it pretty far. They've got a name to prove them for themselves. They've had a lot of practice outside, so I expect a lot from that game. George Mason versus North Carolina State. That's going to be on the 10th. That is Saturday, tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And then following that game will be UC Irvine versus Colorado, the one I talked about earlier with Locktrain. That'll be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We already know about UC Irvine. I talked a little bit about Colorado at Boulder. Boulder, they were at the Wichita event. They didn't succeed, but that's a lot of practice. They were also at DreamHack. That's more practice. Colorado, they have a lot of practice under their belt. They have a lot of national experience, going from Colorado to Colorado is where DreamHack was held. Colorado, Wichita, Kansas, and